organized here, so one moment.
A few of us can get on the carpet here for you. If we need to.
Go for it, Ted.
Absolutely. And then all we have to do is figure out how we'll all get up. There is that dilemma. Well, this is children's, I'll work children's time into the sermon because I knew that Jacob wasn't going to be here. I'll pass these back to Lila and Kelsey or anybody else who wants to color. Because this is Native American Sunday. It's a day that the United Church of Christ acknowledges the great gifts the indigenous tribes all over the world have given us, and helps us to remember from whence these tribes came and how they look at the world. So let us hear our New Testament reading, the story that helps us to hear yet again the next appearing of Jesus after the resurrection, and reinforces our sacrament of communion. That same day, 2 of them were walking to the village of Emmaus. It was about 7 miles out of Jerusalem. They were deep in conversation, going over all these things that had happened. And in the middle of their talk and questions, Jesus came up and walked with them. But they did not recognize who he was. And he asked, "What's this you're discussing so intently as you walk along?" And they just stood there, long-faced, like they had lost their best friend. And one of them said, "Are you the only one in Jerusalem who hasn't heard what happened during the past few days?" And he answered, "What happened?" And they said, "The things that have happened to Jesus, the Nazarene. He was a man of God, a prophet, dynamic in work and word, blessed by both God and all of the people. And then our high priests and our leaders betrayed him, got him sentenced to death, and crucified him. And we had our hopes up that he was the one who was about to deliver Israel. And it is now the 3rd day since it happened. But now some of our women have completely confused us. Early this morning they went out to the tomb and they couldn't find his body. They came back. They came back with the story that they had seen a vision of angels. Angels who said he was alive. So some of our friends went off to the tomb to check, and they also found it empty, just as the women had. But they didn't see Jesus. And the stranger looked at them and he said, "Slow-hearted, thick-headed, why can't you simply believe all that the prophets said? Don't you see that these things had to happen? And the Messiah had to suffer and then enter into his glory." And then he started at the beginning with the books of Moses and went on through all of the prophets, pointing out everything in the scriptures that referred to him. And they came to the edge of the village. And he acted as if he were going on, but they pressed him. "Stay and have supper with us. It's nearly evening and the day is done." And so he went with them. And he sat at the table with them. And taking the bread, he blessed and he broke it. And he gave it to them. And at that very moment, open-eyed, wide-eyed, they recognized him. But then he disappeared. And back and forth they talked. Didn't we feel the fire as he conversed with us on the road? As he opened up the scriptures for us? Didn't we feel the fire? May we bless those words and that story to our hearts and to our minds. For the disciples, it was in that practice, that familiar practice with Jesus, that practice we call today communion, that was first shared with those disciples as they ate with Jesus, first acknowledged in the Bible in the upper room the night before he was arrested. But it is these believers gathered together in a community, and they suddenly recognize in their midst the Messiah. You know, we talk about communion as the time when we as a community get closest to that possible peak at heaven. A time when that window opens just a little bit. It's one of two sacraments in the United Church of Christ. It means thanksgiving. When we say communion or Eucharist, it means thanksgiving. We get to hear and touch and taste and receive something that reminds us of the grace that God revealed to us through Jesus Christ and in other unique ways. It's a joyous act of thanksgiving for all that God has done for us and is doing for us and will do for us. It's a sacred memorial to the risen Christ. It's an earnest prayer for that window to open and the Holy Spirit to join us in our community. It is one of the most intimate experiences of fellowship that we have in the church. And it is for the United Church of Christ a hopeful sign, a sign that we will be able to be living in a creation and a community that will be marked by the justice and the love and the peace that we practice. Our native brothers and sisters here in America have a custom, a ritual, a tradition that is similar. It's called the pipe ceremony. Thanks to all those good Western movies, we would call it the peace pipe. But it is just simply called the pipe ceremony. And it's a sacred tradition and ritual that combines and connects the spiritual world and the real world, or the physical world that we live in. Sound familiar? The pipe is the link between the earth and the sky. Nothing is more sacred. The pipe becomes part of all that there is and brings it into the ritual circle space of this community. The fire in the pipe is the same as the fire in the sun, which is the source of all life. And the reason why tobacco is used is that it connects the two worlds. The plant's roots go deep into the earth, and its smoke rises into the heavens. Somewhat similar to the reason we do communion, to tie ourselves to the Holy Spirit. A way, a tradition, a ritual to help us better understand what our place is in the cosmos. How do we fit? What is our relationship with the creator of all physical being? Let us pray in the Native American way with their words. O great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds and whose breath gives life to all the world, hear me. I am small and weak. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold the red and the purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may understand the things that you have taught my people. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. I seek strength, not to be greater than my brother or sister, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes. So when life fades as the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. Oh. Today we celebrate these indigenous people, some who live on every continent of this world, some who still live the way of their ancestors, some who have tried to live a more of the life of modernity, and some who have struggled to find a balance. Their stories provide so many explanations of our lives and of the cosmos we live in. And I will share the stories as best I can interpret them this morning. For I am not trained. I am merely a white Caucasian with a little bit of American Indian, who is not trained, but who can share the stories, not with the spirituality of the American Indians, but so that we might hear them and understand they too hold many of the same beliefs that we do. Oh. They have a creation story like we do. We have Genesis. We believe in the 7 days that it took to create the world, however you count the 7 days and however that happened. But we have that story in Genesis that helps us remember, and some of it repeated in Deuteronomy. The Indians have a story as well. There was another world before this one. But the people of that world did not behave themselves, and displeased, the Great Spirit set out to make a new world. He sang several songs to bring rain, which poured stronger with each song. And as he sang the fourth song, the earth split apart and water gushed up through the huge cracks, causing a flood. And by the time the rain had stopped, all of the people and nearly all of the animals had drowned. Only Kangi, the crow, survived. So Kangi pleaded with the Great Spirit to make him a new place to rest. And so the Great Spirit decided that the time had come to make a new world. So from his huge pipe bag, which contained all types of animals and birds, the Great Spirit selected 4 animals known for their ability to remain underwater for a long time. And he sent each in turn to retrieve a lump of mud beneath the floodwaters. First, the loon dove deep into the dark waters, but it was unable to reach the bottom. And Patan, the otter, even with his strong webbed feet, could not reach the mud. And next, the Kapay, the beaver, used its large flat tail to propel itself deep under the water, but it too brought nothing back. And finally, the Great Spirit took the 4th, the Kia, or turtle, from his pipe bag and urged him to bring back some mud. And turtles stayed under the water for so long and everyone was sure Turtle had drowned. And then with a splash, Turtle broke the surface, mud filled its feet and its claws and the cracks between its upper and lower shells. And singing, the Great Spirit shaped the earth and mud of in his hands and spread it on the water where it was just big enough for himself and the crow. And then he shook 2 long eagle feathers over the mud until the earth became wide and varied and overcame the waters. Feeling sadness, though, for this dry land, the Great Spirit cried tears that became oceans and streams and lakes. And he named the new land Turtle Continent in honor of the turtle which had provided the mud that formed this land. And the Great Spirit took many animals and many birds from his great pipe bag, and he spread them across this earth. From red and white and black and yellow earth, he made men and women. And the Great Spirit gave the people his sacred pipe and told them to live by it. And he warned them about the fate of the people that had gone before them. And he promised all would be well if all living things learned to live in harmony. But the world would be destroyed again if they made it bad and ugly. Oh. Not so different from our Genesis story. I think it's fascinating that the water plays such a role. The water of rebirth. When we read the Bible, we read much about how there were stores of food, and food was raised, and there were famines, and there were droughts, and there was pestilence, and there was locusts, and we read the comings and goings of the seasons, and the Native Americans had a story for that as well. A long time ago, giants lived on the earth. They were so strong that they were not afraid of anything, and when they stopped giving smoke to the gods of the east and the west and the north and the south of the 4 directions, Nasaro looked down upon them and was angry. I made the giants too strong, Nasaro said. I will not keep them. They think they are like me. I shall destroy them by covering the earth with water, but I will save the ordinary people. And so he sent the animals to lead the ordinary people to a cave so large that all the animals and people could live there together. And he sealed up the cave and he flooded the earth so that all the giants drowned. And to remind himself that there were people underground, he planted corn in the sky. And as soon as the corn ripened, he took an ear from the field and turned it into a woman. And she was called Mother Corn. You must go down to earth, he said, and bring my people out from under the ground and lead them to the place where the sun sets, for their home shall be in the west. And Mother Corn went down to the earth, and when she heard thunder in the east, she followed a sound into the cave where the people were waiting. But the entrance closed behind her, and she could find no way to lead the people out. We must leave this place, this darkness, she told him. There is light above the ground. Who will help me take my people out of the earth? And the badger came forward and said, Mother Corn, I will help. And the mole stood up and said, I will help the badger dig through the ground that we might see the light. And then the long-nosed mouse came and said, I will help the other 2. And the badger began to dig upwards, and after a while he fell back exhausted. Mother Corn, I'm very tired, he said. And then the mole dug until he could dig no more. And then the long-nosed mouse took the mole's place. And when he became tired, the badger began to dig again. And the three took turns until at last the long-nosed mouse thrust his nose through the ground and could see just a little light. And the mouse went back and said, Mother Corn, I ran my nose through the earth and I saw the light, but the digging has made my nose small and pointed. And after this, all of the people will know by my nose that I was the one who dug through the earth first. The mole now went up to the hole and dug all the way through. And the sun, which had come up from the east, was so bright it blinded the mole. And he ran back and said, Mother Corn, I have been blinded by the brightness of that sun. I cannot live upon the earth anymore. I must make my home under the earth. And from this time, all moles will be blind. So they cannot see in daylight, but they can see in the night, and they shall stay underground in the daytime. And the badger then went up, and he made the hole larger so the people could go through. And when he crawled outside, Badger closed his eyes, but the rays of the sun struck him and blackened his legs and made a streak of black upon his face. And he went back down and said, Mother Corn, I have received black marks upon me, and I wish that I might remain that way so that the people will remember that I was the one who helped to get your people out. Very well, said Mother Corn, let it be as you say. She then led the way out, and the people rejoiced that they were now upon the open land. And while they were standing in the sunshine, Mother Corn said, my people, we will now journey westward toward the place where the sun sets. But before we start, any who wish to remain here with the badger and the mouse and the mole may do so. And some of the animals decided to return to their burrows in the earth, but others went with Mother Corn. And the journey was now begun, and as they traveled, they could see a mountainous country rising up in front of them, and they came to a deep canyon. The bluff was too steep for the people to get down, and even if they could get down, it was too steep to get back up on the other side. And Mother Corn asked for help. And a bluish gray-blue bird flew up, hovering on rapidly beating wings with its large bill and bushy crest and handsome breast. The kingfisher said, Mother Corn, I will be the one who will point out the way for you. And the kingfisher flew to the other side of the canyon and with its beak pecked repeatedly at the bank until the earth began to crumble and fall into the chasm. And then the bird flew back to the other side and did the same on that bank, and the earth began to crumble and together formed a bridge. Those who wish to join me, said the kingfisher, may remain here, and we will make our homes in the cliffs. And some stayed, but most journeyed on. And after a while they came to another obstacle, a dark forest. The trees were so tall they seemed to reach the sun, and they grew together so closely that they formed an impenetrable thicket. And again Mother Corn asked for help, and this time Owl appeared. And Owl said, I will make a pathway for your people through the forest. Any who wish to remain with me may do so, and we will live in this forest forever. And then Owl flew up through the timber, waving its wings to move the trees to one side so that it left a pathway for the people to go through. And Mother Corn led the people through, and onward they went to the west. And as they journeyed on through the country, they came to a big lake. The water was too deep and too wide to cross, and the people talked of turning back. But they could not do this, for Nasura had ordered Mother Corn to lead them always toward the west. And Mother Corn asked for help. And a water bird with a black head and a checkered back came and stood in front of Mother Corn and said, I am the loon, and I will make a pathway for you in this water. I shall help. Let the people stop crying. Mother Corn looked at the loon and said, make a pathway for us, and some of the people will remain here with you. And the loon flew and jumped into the lake, moving so swiftly that it parted the waters. And when it came out to the other side of the lake, it left a pathway behind. And Mother Corn led the people across to the dry land, but some stayed and became loons, and the others journeyed on. And at last they came to a level place beside a river, and Mother Corn told them to build a village there. Now you shall have my corn to plant, she said, so that you will be eating of it, and you will grow, and you will multiply. And after they built a village and they planted corn, Mother Corn returned to the upper world. But the people had no rules and no chiefs and no medicine men to advise them, and soon they were spending all their time playing games. And the first game they played was with the shinny ball, in which they divided sides and used curved sticks to knock at the ball through the other's goal. Modern lacrosse. Nasura was displeased with the activities of his people. And he and Mother Corn came back down to earth and told them that they must have a chief, and they must have some medicine men, and they must learn how to live. And so they taught the people how to choose a chief through the tests of bravery and wisdom. Mother Corn taught them songs and ceremonies. And after they had chosen a chief, Nasoro gave the chief his name. And then he taught the medicine men the secrets of magic, and he showed them how to make pipes for offering smoke to the gods of 4 directions. And when all of this was done, Nasura went away toward the setting sun to prepare a place for new villages. Mother Corn led the people in his tracks across the plains and streams of this country, and Nasura began to plant roots and herbs for the medicine men. And on the first day that they came into this country, Mother Corn told them to offer smoke to the gods in the heavens and to the animal gods. And while they were doing this, a dog came running into camp crying, and he accused Mother Corn of doing wrong by going away and leaving him behind. I came from the sun, he cried, and the sun god is so angry because I was left behind that he is sending a whirlwind to scatter the people. Mother Corn called on the dog to save the people by appeasing the whirlwind, only by giving up my freedom. The dog replied, can I do this? No longer can I hunt alone like my brother the wolf, or roam free like the coyote. I shall always be dependent upon people. But when the whirlwind came spinning and roaring across the land, the dog did stand between it and the people. And I shall always remain with the people, he shouted to the whirlwind. I shall be a guardian for them and all of their belongings. And in the rich earth beside the river, the people planted their corn. And then Mother Corn said, I shall turn into a cedar tree to remind you that I am Mother Corn, who gave you your life. It was I, Mother Corn, who brought you from the east. I must become a cedar tree to be with you. And on the right side of the trees will be placed a stone to remind you of Nasaro, who brought order and wisdom to you as people. And the next morning, a cedar tree, full grown, stood in front of the lodges of the people, and beside it was a huge stone. And the people knew that Mother Corn and Nasaro would watch over them through all time and keep them together and give them long life. Oh. I'll save you from spring and winter, how's that? Summer and winter. And I'll take you to the seven thunders. The thing I find fascinating about Mother Corn's story is the parallels with our own stories, with our own writings in the Bible, of weather issues, the parting of waters, the challenges of just being people and being orderly and responsible. Stories that were being written on two continents at similar times in our beginnings. And I don't think they had jets or libraries or the internet. One last story. This was the one I was going to share at children's time. So, each tribe has a story about the thunder gods. And the thunder god is called Hinan. And he is the eldest brother and leader of a winged race called the Thunderers. They're magical beings who live in the sky, and they're the ones that cause thunder and lightning, especially in the spring. And yes, they can be dangerous. But they are there in the belief of the American Indians to protect us, to warn us of coming weather, and to bring the rain and the water that we need. They are there to protect us from the winged serpent called Onanar, because Onanar would make sure we didn't get the rains we needed. They refer to Hinan as grandfather. So let me begin. And this isn't as long as the corn story. The Kaya Yuga refer to the seven thunders as Ukisat, Hagiquis, Tentenaktor, Hajawi, Tayez. Grandparents from the sunset, coming, sounding their voices. Think about the thunder as it rolls in. Grandparents, people who love us and care for us. Grandparents from the sunset, coming, sounding their voices. Coming from the west, from the sunset, sounding their voices. The Kaya Yuga, by the way, anybody want to guess? Ohio. Ohio. Cayuga County, they were a Midwestern Indian tribe. Many years ago, there were three brothers that wanted to find and play the place of the setting sun. And along the path of the setting sun, a spider had spun a web across the trail. And in their efforts to get through the trail, two of the brothers became trapped in the web and could not free themselves. The third brother somehow managed to free himself, followed the trail, and finally reached the sky world and the place of the setting sun. This man was greeted by the six thunderers, who asked this man if he would like to join their world and help them work in the service of the creators. And the thunderers told him that if he agreed, he would have to change his outward form. And when the man agreed, the thunderers placed him in a corn mortar, ground the man to mush, then took him out and remolded him. And with his body reformed, the man joined the thunderers, and they taught him to be gentle, never to be too harsh with the people. And the thunderers to this day have different sounds. If you notice, one sound is like two sticks hitting each other. And that is the sound of the seventh thunderer, the one from this earth. The thunderers protect the people by waging war against snakes and monsters and keeping them under the earth where they are supposed to live. The thunderers also work to cleanse this earth with the rain and the winds. That's the Cliff Notes version. If there are many long stories, and I've got several with me, but long stories, I've got one from the Wyandotte Indians and the Cherokees. That's kind of fun because it talks about Detroit and it's set right here. The Thunderers. The thunder that protects us, that lets us know the waters are coming. The brothers and young men who are playing together with lightning and thunder to ensure we have nourishment. You see, these stories like our own would be told like we do our scripture here as a group, in a circle, in a community, to help build a way of life, to help build a shared experience, to bring hope, to remind us to be passionate, compassionate, and to bring justice, to maintain a balance, to live and play and argue and grow old together and come back together and be together in our communities. Let us pray for understanding. Understanding the way of our people and the way of the indigenous people around the world. Gratitude to Mother Earth, sailing through night and day, and to her rich soil, rich and rare and sweet. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to plants, the sun-facing, life-changing leaf, and fine root hairs standing still through wind and rain. Their dance is in a flowing spiral grain. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to air, bearing the soaring swift and the silent owl. Breath of our song, clear spirit breeze. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to wild beings, our brothers teaching secrets, freedoms, and ways, who share with us their milk, self-complete, brave and aware. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to water, to clouds, to lakes, to rivers, to glaciers, holding or releasing, streaming through all our bodies, salty seas. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to the sun, blinding, pulsing light, trunks of trees through mist swarming caves, where bears and snakes sleep. He who wakes us, in our minds, so be it. And gratitude to the great sky, who holds billions of stars and goes yet beyond that, beyond all powers and thoughts, and yet is within us. Grandfather's space. The mind is his wife. So be it. A hope.